part of the reason why Josh McDaniels is no longer interested in the Niners job, aside from the dysfunction there, is because maybe there's a thought that he could be in line to take over for Belichick. Does that make any sense at all?
No, not really.
That was on Tiki, by the way. He came up with that.
No, I mean, it could happen. It could happen, but I don't think that was a part of his thought process. His thought process is only one thing, okay, in my opinion. And it was either last year at the Super Bowl or 2 years ago at the Super Bowl or one thing, but, you know, the coaches for the Patriots are basically kept under glass, you know.
Yeah.
And although they talk during the season, the assistants, coordinators talk during the season some, it's not ever about sort of it's about game-related things, you know. And but I remember a couple of years ago he was very, very clear. If I get another chance to go, the only way I'm going to go is if I can, if I feel I have a really good chance to win, and especially if I either can get a quarterback who I think can be a playoff-winning quarterback, or if there's one there. So you tell me about the San Francisco 49ers. I think the reason that he might have been a little tempted about the 49ers is that the offer to anybody who's going to go into San Francisco has to be a very long contract, like at least 5 years, because you're not going to win the first 2 years.
Yeah, or 3.
And secondly, a chance to say, this is the culture I want to create, and these are the people I want to create it with. And if anybody gives you that with a franchise that has a storied past, as the 49ers do, and in fact, a storied recent past, honestly, you know, with Harbaugh, I think that's a job that maybe you have to strongly consider. Because to me, the only way that I would ever advise a coach to go to a place like San Francisco now is if Jed York said, here are the keys, you make the rules, you figure out who we're going to have, and then you figure out who your quarterback is going to be.
Yeah, but is he old? I mean, he's 40 years old. Is he qualified to do all of that?
If you've worked for Bill Belichick for 100 years, I would say that, yes, I think he is. And again, I think...
So why did he say no then?
Because do you really think that if you're going to have one more shot, the other thing you have to ask yourself is, even given all those things, can I do it? And Tiki, I'm just going to tell you this. There's one other thing that I remember McDaniels saying back at one of those press things for the Super Bowl, and that is he believes when he scouts quarterbacks, he's not interested in taking like the best quarterback that year or the best one that is available to him that year. So let's say the 49ers have the second pick in the draft, and let's just say, for instance, that Josh McDaniels scouts all the quarterbacks coming out in college. He can't get Jimmy Garoppolo. I think I'm the only one in the media who thinks that Bill Belichick is not going to trade Garoppolo unless he drives such a hard bargain that he feels like there's no way he's going to ever sign sort of a bridge contract to wait for Brady, which could very well happen. But anyway, let's say that Josh McDaniels, with the number 2 pick in the draft, can't get Garoppolo, and let's say that McDaniels basically says, I think the best quarterback is Mitch Trubisky of North Carolina. However, I don't think he's a consistent, what I see right now, what I'm scouting him, there's too much about him that worries me. So, in other words, my point is, I don't think Josh McDaniels looks at quarterbacks and says, here's the best one this year. He looks at quarterbacks and says, can this guy beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in January? Can we coach him up to beat the Seattle Seahawks in January? You know, so I'm just telling you, this is just what I know of this guy, having listened to him and knowing him just a little bit. That's just sort of my feeling about it. Because listen, Tiki, with all of this said, we all have to understand something, and that is that Josh McDaniels, who is 40 years old, is probably going to get one more chance ever to be a head coach in the NFL. His first chance ended horribly. So if he's only going to get one more chance, he's going to take it in a place where he can convince himself absolutely unequivocally we can and will win here. And this is just my guess. I don't know this. I'm just guessing that he probably felt that even though the opportunity in San Francisco would have been good, it still probably would have been tough.
It's a solid take right there, but that's why you're Peter King. Peter King's with us here on Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio.
So what do we think happens with Kyle Shanahan now?
I mean, I think he'd be a really, really good head coach. I'm surprised, honestly, Tiki, that everybody has bypassed Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. Why didn't people wait?
I say it every year. There's this race. Now, the race was slowed down a little bit this year because there wasn't one obvious guy. But, look, as we sat here 1 week ago today, okay, the only team that had done its deal was Jacksonville with Coughlin and Marrone, okay? And I still thought there was still no hurry because, if you're San Diego, why are you hurrying? Anthony Lynn's going to be there. Take your time and see if anybody emerges out of this group of coaches in the playoffs. But people just don't want to wait. Now, and again, I am on the record as saying I believe Anthony Lynn is going to be significantly better than people think. You talk to coaches he has coached with, and players who have played for him. Like I've talked to Richie Incognito, and they basically love Anthony Lynn. They think that he was such a breath of fresh air for just a short period of time, obviously, after Rex Ryan, just the organization and the fact that when he walked into the room, everybody stopped. And so, but be that as it may, I think I would not be in any hurry for a coach. I'd want to survey the field, and to me, the 49ers will be very fortunate if they get Kyle Shanahan, in my opinion.
Peter, big picture this weekend. We all have a tendency to get wrapped up in the immediacy of the moment, a little hyperbole, a little, kind of over-embellishment, if you will.
It's a friggin' great weekend.
No, I agree. I was gonna actually, that was like a disclaimer, but I don't think it applies to this weekend. Was what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
With Brady, with Rodgers, with Big Ben, and the gentleman who should win the MVP this year, Matt Ryan. With your historical knowledge, your database, do you remember a championship weekend with this many transcendent, whatever word you want to use for the quarterbacks that are playing this weekend?
What a great question that is. I mean, I think if we were to sort of look back, okay, and try to go back in time a little bit, I think one of the weekends that I would think of, and I'm trying to remember right now, I think I'm right in saying that in 97, right? 97 was the year that Denver and Green Bay played in the Super Bowl. So that's Elway and Favre, okay? And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Favre beat Steve Young in the championship game, okay? So Steve Young, Elway, Brett Favre, and then, gosh, I'm trying to remember right now. Denver beat Pittsburgh that year.
It wasn't Neil O'Donnell.
Well,
he was
I don't
gone.
know who it was.
Yeah,
Maybe it was Brister. I mean, I really don't remember who that was.
Gotcha.
But that, to me, when I look back, I would remember that a little bit. And then, maybe you go to Favre and Bledsoe, even though Bledsoe. Now, I wouldn't even conjure up that year. But I think one of the things that, and you could think of maybe the Jim Kelly, Troy Aikman years, but I think this is the only year I remember, and I'm going to have to look back because that is a great question.